Hello, this is Anabelle from VEILE, and you are listening to Metal on Loud.
There we go. Thank you both very much for joining the podcast.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you, good sir.
How are things in your world?
A bit static at the moment with everything that's going on in the world. As I was saying briefly, I was actually going to come to the Netherlands to work on the VEILE stuff. But you're now in lockdown, so that didn't go to plan.
Yeah, I think a lot of plans are being ruined right now for a lot of people, but...
Yeah, are continuing to be ruined. I mean, it's 2 years of ruined plans now, with not really any end in sight, apart from maybe there's some common sense prevailing and governments are starting to gradually come around, and mainstream media is gradually starting to come around to the fact that this is just not viable, that society can't function like this, and the government can't stop people dying. People die, it sucks, but that's life, and there's ultimately it's something I think we just have to learn to live with, like we do with influenza and everything else. This is not possible because people's mental health, people's businesses, people's livelihoods are being destroyed, and they can't go on too much longer. So hopefully we're going to start to see the end of the worst of it this year, at least. But who knows?
I almost thought you were going to say the end of the world, but
yeah, well, whatever comes first, I guess.
So you're working on new VEILE stuff. Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, we are currently working on the next chapter. So we're conceiving things as sort of this very much still in this storytelling vibe, where we release things in sort of chapters of sort of a book, each one with its own sort of theme. And I mean, it sounds great, and it also saves a lot of money because albums are really expensive to make. So it's on brand, and it means that we can sort of release as and when. The next chapter, we've solidified the theme. The demos are in place at the moment. I'm currently writing lyrics and experimenting.
There's a lot of work to do still musically. It's always evolving, but the way we do things is a little bit experimental. Actually, it's in terms of the way we release stuff. We're seeing how it works, because I think that what we always had in mind was we wanted to see if it were possible to make it work without doing it in the conventional album way. And I think maybe down the line we might release compiled versions of the individual parts that we're releasing into something more collective. But I guess, we want to see if it's possible to have a band that doesn't release albums in the conventional sense, and whether that even matters in the modern day, because everything's streamed anyway. Maybe it doesn't matter, So it's kind of an experiment in that sense.
I think the whole concept of an album, although it's something from the past, many fans are really keen on it, since they have something physical to hold in their hands. And
that's true, and that absolutely, and that's I think why we are also looking at the possibility of compiling the parts later in a different way with additional material, so that there's two versions of everything. There's the sort of individual chapters, and then there's the compiled version where we try to tie it together in a sort of longer format. So I think in that case it needs to be with the eye towards things like vinyls and things that are things, not physical things that you can hold, and then it gives us an excuse to go a little bit more into the artwork and the presentation and so on. But that's a way off yet.
I did speak with another band that did something similar, and they released, I think, 4 EPs it was, and at the end they collected those into an album.
Yeah, I think probably, I think we talked about that in the early days, that might be the way that we'll do it, but I think if we do that, we also have some ideas that we want to tie them together with additional material that isn't on the EPs to make it worthwhile, you know, and to make it more of a, I don't know, how would you describe it? I suppose like a sort of narrative journey through the parts. Yeah, I think that's probably where we'll end up going. But first we have to get initial things done. So, you know.
Yeah.
When it comes to storytelling, where's your mind at right now? Do you have a certain vibe you're going for, or?
Yeah, for this one we do. I think, are we settled on it, Charles? Are we settled on it?
Yeah, we have a sort of vague concept that we want to tell, like we did with the first. The first one was what was the theme of, what was the actual tying theme of the first one? It was basically sort of ghost stories.
Yeah, three ghost stories.
Yeah, three very different but tied together ghost stories. And this one, we had the idea that there will always be that element to it. It's always going to be some sort of horror. And this one, we kind of landed around the idea that we wanted the three stories to have some sort of elemental concept behind them, like earth, fire, water, but it would still be in the vein of ghost stories, but somehow related to those elements.
You could say that a VEILE song is not your typical regular kind of song. What do you make it to turn it into a VEILE song? What makes it special?
It's hard to say really, because we've only done it once so far. We did one cycle with 3 songs, and in that case, what we did was it was sort of a roughly finished format, and then in like structures, but sort of skeletal structures of songs, and then Anabelle took them and started to play around with vocal ideas, and then it starts to open out. So the idea really, I suppose, is to form songs that are nowhere near to finished first, but have some structural basis, and then just start to layer and add ideas and let the process be quite creative. It's not your typical thing of, you know, everyone gets together, jams some riffs, and, you know, makes a rock song. It's something totally different from that. It's much more of a, like a storytelling thing. It's something that we can just have fun with because there's no expectation behind it yet. So we're still in very much that place where we can just be as sort of pretentious as we want to be, you know. And there's no rule book yet, but I'm sure once we get to the point that we've got a catalogue of songs, then it's going to become much more difficult, because then there'll be this expectation, like with every band, that, you know, once you land on a sound, then people expect that sound, and if you do anything different, then they get annoyed with you, or, you know, and it becomes complicated. So at the moment we're in a nice place where there is no real process on paper. It's whatever works and however it works.
Yeah, and I follow that with the vocals. So for me, everything is in character and following this story. It's sort of like the romantic era of program music, where you'd go to a concert and you'd be given a pamphlet with a story, and then the orchestra will play according to the story you have in front of you. So for me, I follow that. I let everything be led by the lyrics and the character. Like A House in Dust is all based on a woman in black, the woman in black, and that character. So vocally, I don't know where it's going to go or what's going to come out. It's quite method. When I was demoing it, I did it in my best friend's garage, and just literally just going hysterical in her poor girl in her garage. And to one point, yeah, I know. I'm surprised no one's ever called the police on the sort of things I get up to. Yeah, very theatrical.
Yeah, that was always the thing, that we wanted it to be something that was just a bit different and had that theatrical element to it. We always wanted it to be something. When I say we wanted it to be more than a band, I don't mean that in a sort of an arrogant or pretentious way. I don't mean we wanted to elevate ourselves or something. I just mean that we always wanted to do something that was just slightly outside of the realms of what you would normally do, you know, just sort of writing songs. And we wanted it to be something that just edged slightly towards, like Anabelle said, like program music, something that had a slight storytelling, theatrical edge to it. And that's a really fine line to walk, because it's so easy to spill over from genuinely interesting and different into just completely pretentious and laughable. And it's a really, really, not, of course, people always disagree on the point where you overstep that mark. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a criticism that gets leveled at us a lot, I'm sure, as time goes on, that, that people just, we took it too far. But some people will like it, I hope. And I hope that we know when we take it too far, for ourselves at least.
I really enjoyed the atmospheric quality of the music on the first release, and it sounded to me like a mixture between a soundtrack to a horror movie or something, and like a musical role playing.
I think you nailed it. I think that's exactly where we landed, and I think that's where we were aiming as well. So great to hear.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And as you're saying, Charles, there's the line there between you don't want it to become pantomime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it's good that you didn't say the word pantomime. That's great.
In what way would you say that the VEILE project is different from your other musical jobs? Like for Anabelle, the Cradle of Filth stuff, and for you, Charles, your what was it again, Mayhem?
Yes, yeah. It's completely different, because it like the main thing is what I said earlier, is that there's no expectation yet. So it's purely a creative outlet, and that's really nice. It's sort of refreshing. I think it's important for everyone to have something that's purely creative and doesn't have any, you're not using it to pay your bills or anything like that, because then this extra pressure comes into the mix. But it's just completely different, because it's different people and different musicians, and it's a wildly different goal, I suppose, that we have with it. Most
importantly, it's ours.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, the bands that we work in are jobs. They're not our bands. Like Cradle is Danny Phil's band. He owns it. It's his. So
and Mayhem is just such an established thing. I mean, we are a band. We are sort of individual members and stuff, but it's been around for more than 35 years. So of course it's very, very established. It's not like we can suddenly do something wildly different with that. There's definitely a.
And he's gone.
Oh dear. Oh well. I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's like this is turning into an actual horror film now. We're dropping out one by one.
He did leave us with a nice screenshot. A very horror screenshot.
There you go. It's all on brand. This is all deliberate.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand what he's saying. It's very much the same for me, because this is ours, a total creative expression. Because in the bands we're in, we have sort of roles to play. We have a sound we have to fit, and it's sort of like a job brief. Well, it is a job brief that you have to fill, whereas VEILE is just complete, just whatever we want to do, and total artistic expression, which for me is so important, because I can do lots of weird bendy stuff with my voice, and I love experimenting with that, and to have this creative space to do that in is just, well, like Charles said, I think everyone needs that.
He's back, I see.
With mood lighting.
With mood lighting and a halo. Ooh.
Oh, look at that. This is all on brand. I love it.
I think he's doing it on purpose.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Look at it, one for theatrics.
Charles.
We said it's theatrical, and here you go. You're getting all the theatrics.
When it comes to this music, have you played live shows with it yet?
No, it was in the cards. Well, we need a full set first, but these lockdowns have obviously stopped because Charles is in the Netherlands and I'm in the UK, so that's one sort of barrier, and the world has not yet allowed us to be able to play live, but we definitely want to. That's the aim, is to literally take the show on the road.
I love that line. The world has not yet allowed us. That's a lyric.
Yeah, you can use it for your poetry. There you go. Right.
Exactly.
I'll let you have that one.
The reason I ask is because this music is so layered. I wonder how it would be to play this stuff live.
Yeah, we've wondered the same. Especially with the sort of vocals, because a lot of it, as you've heard, is a lot of soundscape. So it's layered upon layered upon layered upon of me making weird noises.
Yeah.
I've tried to sort of have like a lead line that I'd follow. But I guess the bonus there is also I can just do whatever I want a bit. And each show won't be the same. But yeah, that's definitely something for us to figure out. I think the nature of it, it's going to have to be in-ears and clicks because there's so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the nature of it.
Yeah. I think you cannot do this without either pre-recorded stuff or layering stuff with, what's it called? The tech thing, a repeater or something?
Yeah, like the click. Yeah. I mean, most bands, you'd be surprised how many, most bands do. Most things now live are layered massively, like orchestral stuff, and mostly because they have to be, because you can't play everything at once. But also that's the sort of expectation now. People want that big live full sound, and they have an expectation to what that sounds like. So it becomes a necessary evil.
Mm-hmm. Well, technology does bring its pros as well as.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do this. We wouldn't be able to make all the VEILE songs without this. But at the same time, technology moves a lot faster than we do, and we're our brains have not yet caught up to the modern world, unfortunately.
There are also some evil sides like autotune, but.
Oh, Charles just messaged me. The power just went out on my street.
Ah.
Please give my apologies. Oh, that's exciting.
It sounds very horror.
It's the end of the world. See, we were talking about it. You said it was the end of the world, and here we are.
I think somebody was listening.
How dramatic. I love it. I'm typing that to him now. How dramatic. There we go. Sorry about that.
Let him check his freezer.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good shout. I better message him quick. Check the freezer.
When it comes to the music of VEILE, what are things that VEILE will never be, and what are things that you definitely want in the future for VEILE?
I mean, I sincerely hope it never turns into a pantomime. That it never turns into something that's laughable and cheesy. I mean, you don't want to take yourself seriously, because that's often how people become arseholes. And there is an element in art that is just, play and exploration. So I don't want it to end up to the point where it's just doing it for doing its sake. I hope it doesn't end up being cheesy or predictable or repetitive. I'm hoping that each one will be as individual as like a program, as a story. I really hope, which we all really hope, we're wanting this to be a live experience, but like what Charles was saying, as more than a band, in terms of a almost mix between theatre and music, like a theatre concert sort of like installation sort of setup with dancers and all sorts of stuff happening. Really abstract, almost like really avant-garde theatre. It sounds so pretentious, and obviously, this may never happen. Way off, because these things require a lot of money, but we're hoping to move in that direction, into that sort of artsy sphere. I just sound like an arse saying that, but that's the sort of one of the goals at the moment, is to. Because we don't really want us to be a metal band. Obviously, we have the ties in that world, and obviously we're working within that realm. We want it to be more than that. We want it to just not be as in that world of extreme music.
Mm-hmm. I do expect that if you go for such a route with the live show, that you are aiming for like a high quality horror production rather than a gore show.
Yeah. See, all these things cost a lot of money, so we just got to get really rich and famous, and they will be sorted.
Oh well, if you look at horror productions like Evil Dead, for instance, the first ones, they're really low budget, but they're really good.
Yeah, there's something about that makes it more frightening. And that was definitely something that Charles was really adamant on, was to have everything to sound really organic, like it's in the same room as you, the music that's happening. So my vocals, believe it or not, are not overly edited, which is quite frightening for me. But yeah, so maybe we'll just record it on a potato like the old school black metal days. Maybe that would increase our quality instead of the other way around. I mean,
who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Good idea.
But I can say that I'm really looking forward to your next chapters and what will become of VEILE, because the first steps you already made, I love them. They're amazing.
Oh, thank you. And I hope you don't just have to say that because you're on camera.
No, that's
I'll make
my
sure
true
to
opinion.
send you a copy.
I'd love that.
Yeah, message me your details and I'll send you a signed copy from all of us.
I really appreciate that. That's awesome.
No worries. I mean, it's the least I can do.
So, do you have any last words for your fans out there, our viewers, listeners in this case?
I'm going to say the wonderful VEILE tagline here, which is "Stay haunted."
I love that one. That's an awesome tagline.
Yeah, Frank made that up. I love it. I was like, oh, it's so simple but so perfect.
Those ones are simple. That's very true.
True, and that's what makes it so hard.
Thank you very much for coming on, and I'm really looking forward to the next chapter.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. It's good to see you again.
Same here. It's good to listen to you.
So,
Metal on loud.
Metal on loud.